Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us for today's webinar. Our agenda for discussion today is the art of effective leadership and management. I am Ajay Dubedi, the CEO and founder of Propel Guru, the leader in modern sales and digital transition. And I'll be the host for today. Be sure to listen to the end of each conversation and to take a summary as well as closing message. On the speaker panel, we have Patrick Bensen. So, Patrick, yeah.
Nice to be
So
here. Thank
a
you.
quick introduction to Patrick, the founder and director of Leaders of Tomorrow Institute and a keynote speaker specialist in the social and workplace policy. He is currently the member of Coach Council and Canadian Psychology Association and the Entrepreneur Magazine Club. And I think many more, which Patrick, it will be great if we hear from you. So yeah, Patrick, over to you.
Yes, thank you so much. Usually I don't really talk about myself. I talk about what I'm doing, but okay, let's see if I can do that. Yeah, you pretty much resume everything. Yes, I was some years ago. I was a clinical psychologist, but I switched to organizational psychologist because I realized that we spend 1/3 of our life sleeping, 1/3 of our life working, and 1/3 pretty much doing things for ourselves. So usually when we're sleeping, there's nothing happening there in terms of psychology problem, and it's either in life, clinical psychology, or at work. And I was only looking at one side, not the other side. So I was interested in what's happening in people's mind and how they get so stressed and what's happening. And I was only looking on one side. So I decided I wanted to become the organizational psychology to look at the other side. So yes, that's why I became this. It's been some years ago. I've been a member of the APA, American Psychology Association. They have an award just for America and Canada called the Psychology Healthy Workplace Award, and I was part of the committee for the Canadian side.
Okay, great to know that. And as all my audience, we all know that in this webinar, we'll be requesting Patrick's guidance to help us through all the aspects of leadership, including challenges to traditional leadership thinking and the importance of leadership development in the modern digital world and much more, especially probably from our angle. So it's angle of IT and angle of digital world. Okay, so no further ado, let's get started with this webinar, and I'm sure our audience would be having an amazing time watching and listening to your invaluable insights, Patrick. So Patrick, let me allow you, if you have something to present, as we discussed before this, we joined in. So shares your powerful insights, best practices, leadership development, what you have, like straight away.
I will share my screen. Still need to... all right, so I'll prepare something special for you, and it will go like this. Let me play this. There we go. So, sorry about that. So, yes, I'm a part of the Forbes Council for the last 2 years now. So, my company, I got many companies. One is PB Consulting. That was what I was using in Canada for the APA and the assessment we're doing in company and leadership management. I add the title Leadership and Management Development in the New Normal. It's very important because the world has just changed. And we cannot, I think, no longer do management and leadership the way it was because the workplace setup has changed or is about to change. The first thing, there's 5 themes, and the first one will be talking about the millennials and Generation Z, what I call the paradigm. What needs to be understood is those new generation, young people, they don't just want to work. They want to work for a purpose that would serve them best in their personal life. A sort of blending between a personal development and a professional development together. If they don't find in a company any sense of personal development, they will not stay with you. They will keep moving and butterflying like they've been doing. I know people that have been quitting their job right now in the COVID, where it's very hard to find a job. Or they should have stayed. I mean, the common sense will say stay where it's safe right now and see where the world's going. But they didn't stay safe. They rather go where is personal development offered more than a career. So that's something that the leadership management have to understand because they are 30%, 40% of the workforce right now, and soon will be 100%. So, of course, when it's intergenerational, sometimes there's a bit of a translation to do between this generation. What they do once we move into the gig economy, what I call it. So the workplace would be like this picture you see here. That's a new workplace here. Myself, I live in Thailand. I was living a year ago. So it's not far from this picture. I'm not there. I'm in my home right now, but it's not far. Now, 89% of millennials prefer a perks and benefits over pay rise that give, and you see on this little logo, like they'd rather be traveling around and go to the gig economy. The gig economy has been propelled by the millennium, but it has been here for some time. First, they want a flexible workplace, and then they want an a la carte education to go with it. A bit like in the Matrix, if you like, when you need a new skill, you just have to upload your brain or your knowledge with just what you need and not come back for 5 or 6 years of cursus and university. And they want to might as well be relocated in a nice place. If you can work from home, then why home should be home? Why shouldn't it be like in this picture? Actually, Microsoft, Google, and all these big companies, just recently, last week, Microsoft finally also joined the club and have allowed those millennia or anybody else to work from home permanently. That means now anybody can work the Silicon Valley without moving to the Silicon Valley, which is giving advantage to the company. And I think it's a good news. Now they can employ people with all skills and all range without bypassing the visa and the application and the relocation and living in San Francisco area, which is super expensive. Now those people, they're going to start packing soon, right? They're going to be about to go. I don't have to stay here. Why stay at home 5 miles away from your workplace if I can be at home anywhere? And so they're going to start moving. It hasn't been yet because the decision for this company just happened last week. So, for Microsoft, that's an example. So yes, they want to relocate themselves, and they're happy with a pay cut as long as the perk is better. That's 89% will agree with that. So that's what my slide's showing here. A job that could be designed around a personal life and not the other way around. We used to move to big cities because there was a big factory there and we have to adapt to the big city. And that created a lot of traffic jam, a lot of insecurity, a lot of people living on top of each other. I think this time is over, which is a good news, I think. So yeah, there's no more home. Home is whatever you want to define. We saw it coming though. The pandemic just make it permanent. So we want to avoid that anymore. I move away from that, from Vancouver, and many cities in the world know what I'm talking about. And it's insane spending 6 hours in a car, 3 hours each way to just put 8 or 9 hours of work. 9 plus 6, 15 hours of your day already gone. We only have 24 hours a day. I have to sleep, I have to take a shower, I have to go grocery shopping. I have no time for anything else. And many people, 92% of the people in New York, when New York reopened, decide not to return to work. In America right now, in all America, it's about 55% that refuse to come back to the normal. I used to say, before you go back to normal, make sure you define what was normal about normal. What the new generation wants, they want more feedback. So we used to, in terms of leadership management, we used to have like a 1-year appraisal or maybe every 6-month appraisal. The young generation doesn't want that. They want almost a day-to-day to make sure they're on the right track. They want a constant, just a text, just an emoji, something that, hey, are you doing okay? Smile. That's it. That's enough. But every day, not once every 6 months. They demand, especially Generation Z, they demand this kind of feedback from the employer. And that's forced the leadership to actually rethink the way they were doing appraisal, rethink the way they were doing the feedback, and really be open and compassionate about what's happening. Maybe they have a crisis. Maybe today they don't feel like working. And but that's okay because it's a project base. So the generation seek a collaborative, team-friendly environment and crave positive relationship at work. It's very important. And I have many examples I could tell where on a negative environment, people just leave the job, even if it costs the company training. I remember this big company that put in 3 to 5 months training into the employee just to be able to apprehend the work, the task they were given. And on the first day, one quit because the cat of her best friend was missing, and she was not ready to work at 8:00. She was ready to work maybe a bit later when she finished texting. Now she gets stressed by the management, and instead of showing compassion and saying, okay, well, just take your time. When you're ready, be okay. I know it's not the way we used to be saying, but that's what it required. With a bit of compassion, she would have not quit, and your investment in her would have been kept. Now, she was pressed, she walked out on the first day, on the first minute, and then you sit on your investment that you just put on somebody. So how it's going to be today, it could be a video call, because not only the pandemic, but also because we might not be in the same city. So video call is the future. We have to get used to it. I personally prefer face-to-face contact, but what can we do? And so this has to be really good part. Of course, new generation will be they're already on screen all the time, so there's not a problem for us. 60% of the Gen Z want multiple check-in from their manager weekly, if not daily. That's what I was saying. And that's a survey that's just recently been made. This can become a major burden on management if they were not supportive or ready to be supportive the way they used to. So, and of course, flexibility in the task. I think we're going to the gig economy where people will pay by the task, not by day or by hours. So I got that much. How much do I have to do my work? Okay, 2 months, it will be done. Now, when it's going to be done, don't check on me every day. You can ask me how I'm doing. I'm on the beach today. Oh, it's my cousin's birthday. But it will be done in 2 months. But when, I don't know.
Yeah.
According to a recent report, also 80% of Gen Z saw a failure as something to embrace, which is a good news. They don't. They think, okay, see, I put this fail stand for first attempt in learning. So they really want to learn from the mistakes. They need, and I think what is needed is a collaborative. Some country, like Scandinavian country, have this thing. They can only employ a young person if they employ or keep employed an elder person. So the eagerness of the youth, together with the ability, capacity, and the maturity of the go together, and they love from each other. The elder person feel still in and still serve a purpose and happy to give everything he's learned before he retire. And the young person wants to learn everything there is to learn quicker from people that have been here on the job for 20 years. So that combination, it's already in place in the world in some country, but it's not many countries. I see this becoming a more permanent solution, I hope. That's my hope. In 2020, Deloitte made a global millennium survey, and about 3/4 of the millennia and Gen Z responded, said that the pandemic brought new issue to their attention and increased their sympathy for the need of other and their local community. Environmental challenge is still on the first priority for this generation, and equality across the globe, including gender equality, it's very in the agenda. They will not stay by sympathy in a company that, for example, puts a woman down. They will quit, including the men, in this generation, by showing support to their colleagues. So that's something that the management have to also embrace into different things. The same percentage say that they plan to take real action to benefit their community. I think I see the Gen Z very much engaged. They remind me about the generation from the 60s and 70s, actually, where it was a big change in society at the time. And then it went dormant for a little while. We were surfing on whatever we have, and too many problems. Some generation retract themselves from being involved. Now the new generation is really back in, and they want to be involved with their local community. I know some young generation that they don't want to visit the grandparents because they're too afraid of giving the COVID, and they're very concerned about that, and they're really helping, giving food bank in many countries and things. They're most likely to take 1 year off in their career. So be ready to see a resume that is no longer linear, but a resume that is like this, where for 1 or 2 years I decide to have a baby together, and then so we just left for 2 years and leave. We learn surfing in Australia, and then we come back, and now we're ready for more. and I don't want to be questioned all my personal change. I don't want to answer your question of why I decide to make that choice. That's my personal choice. And yes, you're right. For 2 years, 2 long years, I lost contact or track with what's happening. But 2 years is not a lifetime, and maybe I want to. It's necessary to understand. So HR recruitment would also change. I remember that you have to fill up in the gap. You didn't want to show any gap. Now people want to show the gap and explain why there's a gap in their life curriculum. Environment, still a first priority. Before the pandemic, millennial engineers said protecting the environment was a top concern. And you know what? After the pandemic, he actually increased that concern. So they will appreciate any company that is in tune with their belief. So any company that does, if you work in a company that do plastic and don't care about the plastic, they will not join this company regardless of the pay. As I said earlier, they don't really care about the pay anymore. They want a good pay, yes, but it's a gig economy. I want to work very good and hard for 2 or 3 months and then take 6 months off, and that's the way they're going to work. And then I take the next gig when I'm ready. In a way, as a psychologist, I'm concerned about the burnout. The United Nations, the World Health Organization, WHO, have classified burnout as the 21st century disease. That would be the disease of the century if we don't do something to stop it. A way to stop it is to do that, to work hard for a while and then to take some time off. Then not being stressed on a very expensive city, and not being stressed and compressed into traffic jams and queuing, because it's not only the car you compress. When you go to restaurants, you queue. When you go to the supermarket, you queue. When you go to a cinema, you queue. You queue all the time. And when they all go on holiday, at the same time. They're queuing on the way to holiday. They're queuing at the camping site. They're queuing at the hotel. They're queuing where they are. There was a generation queuing no matter where they go. And they don't want to live this way anymore. So the second thing I want to talk about is the employee's best position. Many times you see, met Jane. I don't know, I took a picture from the internet, but let's call it Jane. Jane, she's working in a doctor office. And as you can see at the bottom of my screen, the doctor just left for the day and everything is open. Now she's supposed to clean and she will do the cleaning. But maybe Jane comes from another country where she's also a doctor or a nurse. And then suddenly by cleaning the paperwork, she will see, or an engineer, whatever it is, and she's going to see something. She's the only one go to every office every day. Not everyone has a meeting. You only meet with the people you meet because you have to work with, but not every department is involved. You don't meet every day. Some people you don't meet at all. Jane, though, go to every offices. That's her job. And then she read the notes left open. And then she came with an idea because she has some background of it. And one day, Jane, the cleaner, will come and say, hey guys, I think I can see the concern of your company, and let me introduce myself other than I have an idea for you. But we will only open to her idea if the management line is horizontal, not vertical. If we leave it still on the vertical thing that was introduced in the beginning of 1900 by Taylorism, where there's people on top that's supposed to think and everybody else supposed to execute. If we live on this thing, then Jane would not have a say. However, on a horizontal management line, she would have a say, because a good idea comes from anyone. You never know where it comes from, And that's what I want. So sometimes you employ someone to make the cleaning, but you don't know what in the long run the best position she will get you, and they will surprise you. I give another example. When I was a student, I was a tour guide, and I realized that the people that are planning those tours never came to the country, in that case Norway. They were planning from Google Maps. And so when they saw from the airport to this hotel, it was 100 kilometers, so 1 hour. Yes, 1 hour in America, but in Norway, 100 kilometers is 4 hours, because there's there's no highway, and 2 is a fjord line, and it's tunnel, and there's 2 ferries. You have to wait for the ferry, board the ferry, and wait for your turn. It's slow pace. So you say they arrive that day, they will have lunch at midday. No, wrong. They will have lunch 4 hours later. By the time, if you've been to Norway, we eat between 2 and 4. So the restaurant closes at 4 p.m. and they don't serve food until the next day. So even if you arrive at 4, which is 4 hours later, you still done it because the kitchen is closed. Now, anyone that's been to Norway will know that. Anyone that planned from Google Maps will not know that. And I used to try and choose. If they ask the bus driver, the bus driver in Norway most likely are the farmers. But those farmers will tell you straight away what is possible or not. But not listening to a bus driver, because you're just supposed to drive the bus. And then you keep eating. And I remember trying to solve many problems like that. The future of leadership is time to bring back humanity and creativity into the workplace. Let's face it, AI is coming. And it's not coming sometime before we die, it's coming within the next 2 or 3 years. I had a chance to meet the head of research for Amazon, the biggest company in the world with AI, the biggest budget also, in Seattle. And that lady told me 2 years ago that we have 5 years. So today we have 3 years, if her prediction was right. In 3 years from now, let's face it, those companies didn't invest billions of dollars to showcase a cute little robot at the next expo. They don't want to do that. They really invest all this money to really apply. And the workplace will be the first, and daily life, but workplace will be the first place where we're going to see an interaction. AI is already here, but, and I'm not saying an intelligent robot will be there in 3 years, maybe not, but it will be some sort of AI where we have to deal with. Now, AI, it's according and it's agreed that AI will replace 1 billion jobs within 3 years. Now, let's make the math. We're 7 billion on this planet at the moment. 7 billion. 4 are in a workforce. 3 are not, either they're too young or too old to work. So we only have 4 billion working people on this planet, and 1 billion will be replaced. That's 25% unemployed. Forget pandemic. What's happening in 3 years is there. If they're right, of course, new jobs will be created. That's true, Joe, but not to the extent of replacing those 25%. And also, if you serving food in a coffee, feel secure. You will not be replaced anytime soon. However, if you're a doctor or a lawyer, you might be quicker than you think. Dr. Watson from IBM has been awarded from an international committee of doctors, actually a medical license. Now, Dr. Watson is an AI. He can predict better than any doctor because he has all the knowledge of all doctors at the same time, right? He did less mistakes in prediction and diagnosis.
Yeah.
At the corporate level, there's a need. So this is my recommendation to bring more humanity. Number one, have a general compassion for other human life. That's very important. If you don't understand human, if you don't understand, it's not my problem. Actually, it is your problem. As a leader or manager, this is your problem. This is your team. You're supposed to know them well. 2, have a general understanding of human psychology. Number 2, so have a general knowledge of human psychology, because when dealing with human, the minute you leave your shower, you're dealing with communication and people, and you have to know how it works. 3, have a fairly good knowledge of history, because now we're dealing with a multiple background of people. And of course, not everyone reacts the same way to the same stress. Some people like to be stressed, some don't like. Maybe you could ask a Japanese to do something in a certain way, but you could not ask an Italian to do a certain way, okay? Then be solution-oriented in horizontal management model. So instead of saying what doesn't work, let's try to see what we could do instead. Stop blaming people and start to compose with everybody instead of saying, okay, well, you're supposed to do that, you didn't do it in time. Everyone matters, as I say. And maybe a person just didn't make this job because that's what you recruit into, but maybe he's better. And it's up to the management to see, okay, you know what, you'd be better. It's like a football team. If a football team, he wants really to play in the front line, but maybe he's a goalkeeper. He doesn't know himself. And one day you decide, you know what, why don't you try the goalkeeping? And they try, and he's actually did better, and it's a win-win situation. 5, be ready to change your mind and perspective on everything that you thought was immutable. The world has changed and it keeps changing. And if you want to keep the old good-fashioned way, you're in for a surprise. It's time to accept the change is permanent now. which is a goes against what we've been trying to create for ourselves. A permanent good life where we have a good salary, a secure job, a secure house, a secure family. Unfortunately, we don't live in this security anymore. It's still possible to have that. How secure and how long it will be, that's no one knows. And be creative. Now, creativity, I was talking about the burnout earlier. Creativity is the tool being equipped naturally to combat the stress. The more creative you are, you don't need a pill. You need to be creative. Think outside the box, and actually think outside the building, because the box is gone and the building also. So it's time to think outside the building to find more solution. Most answers, though, come from real life. It's time to be observant and to observe not only the team, but also to find creative solution to observe what nature have been doing, what other people have been doing. Let's try to send a slide. Yes. The next thing is diversity in the workplace, as I mentioned, is going to be even more diverse than before, because those people will be all over the world and your team will be composed of different languages, which is a very good thing, you know, but we have to get along with all thing 11 a.m. Before that, yeah, I'm awake, but no. So, but they never ask me, you know, they're trying to fit me into something. I think that's one thing I have to change. The future of organizational development, and I'm going to that in a second. The saying goes, we don't change a winning team. That's true. And what about if we change the game? You see this picture here? They're trying to play like baseball, but look at the ball and look at the bat. So the game looks the same. We recognize the baseball, but everything else has changed, and you can no longer play good with the tools or if that has changed. So you have to, so you don't change a winning team. That means if the game is the same. Now, if you change the game, the team has to change also. Would you apply the same? So what I was about to say, if all the rules have been changed and rewritten, would you apply the same strategy or trying to find a new one? Probably you would try to find a new one. So that's probably the future of the workplace. Everything has changed. And it's time to write the line as we go and be creative about it. What essential skill will humanity will still need tomorrow in a machine world? So we cannot compete with a machine. The machine will always be superior when it comes to physical strength, working hours, coding, rapidity of execution, precision, processing of information, mathematic prediction, calculation, storage of information, and networking. All that is gone. The minute the AI entered our world for good, we cannot no longer compete with anything that require what I just said. So Jack Ma, for example, the creator of Alibaba, said he actually, I remember watching him like a year or two ago at the Davos Economic Forum, and he said, like, tell the university to stop immediately whatever they do. We need to teach humans to become more human instead of trying to compete with the coding. Because, you know, it was Google that actually tried the AI. They teach one AI, and then the task was to cable to other AI to see if to see how they're going to teach the other AI when one machine can teach the others. And as soon as they plug in and then they perform the task, the machine could understand. They were using the latest Python 3, whatever the best advanced code there is today, whatever that the name is. The machine said, wow, we're talking about? What are we talking like that? They immediately changed the code. They used Python 3, which is the base that was given, and they, within seconds, changed a better language machine to talk to each other. And the engineer at Google, they were watching it. It's like a matrix going so fast. Within seconds, they lost track of what the machine was talking about because they changed and create a new language as it goes. And then they perform the task. They were so scared. They unplugged the machine. It was a big flop, and they lost control within a minute. The machine within a minute creates not only a new language, perform the task quicker. We lost control, So competing with that, we will not. We have only one brain. When people say I'm multitasking, no, you're not. What we do, we're multi-sequencing. We have the secretary with 20 phones ringing at the same time, and we pick up one phone at a time. Please hang on. Please hang on. Thank you for ringing. Hang on. And then you go back to the first conversation. And that's what we do. We're doing very fast because our brain is fast, but we're still multi-sequencing. Multitasking would be have 2 or 3 or 5 brain. We cannot do that. We don't have that. Any attempt to compete with this point will fail. And actually, there's a theory by some doctors that the epidemic burnout that's been there, that WHO was talking about, the mental illness in the workplace arising for all over the society, is a consequence of us trying to compete with something we're not supposed to do, pushing our brain to do something we're not supposed to. So also in form of cancer, at some point, some physician advanced a theory that cancer is a failed attempt at the cellular level to cope with a self-inflicted stress. So the cellular can't take anymore, keep sending the message, can you stop stressing me, please? And then they still know, but I need to keep going, Then at a cellular level, they're trying to change. They make a bad copy of themselves. That's what the cancer is a bad copy, and then the cancer spread, bad copy, and that's how they spread. So there's an explosion in cancer, and no one knows for sure if it's a theory, but I would like, for one, I would like to believe that there's a bit of that in this exploding of cancer in the world. We've been stressing ourselves way too much, and I've seen burnout on the rise as a clinical psychologist and other psychologists. So the future leadership will take care of everything. What's happening today, observe. My recommendation, and that's the end of my presentation. So my recommendation for all leaders and managers listening to this webinar would be to really take care of all the points I've said. Learn to be yourself, more aware of what is your need, and then learn from the people you're working with. If you want the best out of your team, it's your role as a manager to bring the best out of them. If they, the new generation, they're not that patient, and if they see that it's a waste of time, they will leave within 6 months. The turnover could be quite high. However, if they really like you, if you share the same music, if you do something else then on the side, then honestly, they will stay with you for a longer time. But keep in mind that we are on a personal branding for most people for quite some time. They only stay with you until they can reach a certain level, and then their life carry on. And who cannot blame them, So you have other people coming in. So the employee for life that stay with you 25 years, this is gone. My grandpa stayed 42 years in the same company. I don't even understand what it is. Me, I'm 11, I'm not a millennial, or just about, and I'm not Generation Z. And I never stay more than maybe a couple of years at some place, either because it didn't fit my need anymore, or because it was stressing me too much, or because I want to change. Personally, I want to change. Look, I'm in Thailand, and no one pushed me to come here. It was actually hard to come here to get a visa and thing, but I decided it was my personal choice. And I take the choice and the consequence to go with it, the good and the bad. And yes.
And Patrick, just to add on, I have also been to Thailand, and at times even I have a feeling, but probably I'm a bit young to have that feeling right now. But I'm quite sure, after 5 years down the line, with the workload and the pressure in which the new generation is, and especially the multitasking which we are trying to do, the goals and the targets which we are trying to achieve, it's so difficult that I'm also going to probably follow your path steps, and I'll probably try to settle down at a place near the beach, and I have some relax, early retirement, right?
Yes.
Now everyone is planning for that, right? There is also one quick, I wanted to get your view about a certain, a quick input on
Yes.
something. We as at Propel Guru, and I have another CRM business. We are around 250 plus team members, and with a multi-layer of hierarchy and a company policies of growth model, both for the company and for its employees as well, everyone. And majority of the time, what we have noticed that in most or almost all the department, and let me give you a quick example of a sales department. A person join in a BDR, a business development representative, okay? And with course of time, that person, he or she becomes a good salesperson, a smart, intelligent, achieving targets each month, quarterly and yearly, and like growing up in that career. And soon the BDR gets a raise and comes to a position of a sales manager. And the only thing which was judged for that particular person to become a sales manager, or even later down the years to become a VP of sales, was the ROI. Okay, and many times these companies like us face this difficulty. Like, we don't try to find the leader, rather than we end up finding the best output, like results, goals achieved. And to specifically point out from the background where I come from, like I did much part of my career as a developer, and as a developer I rose to become a technical lead, and then to a kind of a delivery manager, or as well as an architect. Okay, and obviously, like, I was able to see that although I had some good leadership qualities, but that was never getting acknowledged, rather than my results and the targets which I was able to achieve. That's why I was able to go to that different positions and different places. So I want your insights, or like your thought on like what should the managers or people who are trying to identify, like, okay, who is a better leader or a better person, like who is a better leader, a leader who has the right leadership skills, or a leader is the leader who gets the goals or achieves the targets. So please go ahead, like your view on it.
So first of all, I want to say, like in a cooking, everyone can cook. It doesn't mean everyone should cook. Okay. So same thing. Everyone can become a leader. It doesn't mean everyone should. First. So let me take an example. As you were talking, an example came to my head. Let's take a musician. You know, a musician, to become a musician, you need to have some skills. You need to know how to play an instrument, or to sing, or do something technical. So this you have to learn. You have to perform. You have to practice years and years to become very skilled at what you do. And when you perform, and even everyone recognizes that your music is fantastic and the way you sing or you play is amazing, this is only 50% of your job. As a musician, your other 50% is to be pleased by the public, to be loved by the public. That's also your task. If you only concentrate but you play so well, but no one can be in the same room as this guy or this girl, then is only complete 50% of your task. The other 50% is to please the public. That's why you do music, to enchant the public with your thing. As a leader, I would like to think a little bit like this musician here. Yes, you have to be skilled and show some result. And that's only 50% of the task. You have to be loved by people you're working with. Instead of imposing that I'm the leader from now on and that's the way it is, like a military style, you have to be almost recognized to be the leader, that no one can think of better off person to be the leader, because you have maybe more experience, true, but also because you have what it takes to resolve conflict. You have what it takes to connect people. And connecting people, I have one good example of a leader, sadly, just one in my life career. It was in England. I was working for the BBC. At the time, I was a sound engineer, and I was working for the BBC in radio, television. And there was one of my boss, amazing person. His name was Andy. I can't, his first name. He has 600 employees underneath him. And he knew, I don't know how you remember, but he knew at every time, he knew how to catch up a conversation, even if you haven't talked to him for a couple of weeks. He will come back to you. So how is the new house? Did you move? Yeah? Did you like it? He remember everything you told him. And then he also remember every birthday. Probably not it down, but it was important. And he came with a small gift that he paid for himself. A chocolate, small thing, but because he has 600 employees, but something small, but something to mark the day. And he was the first one, Friday night in the pub in England, they close early, right? So you have to leave early because they close at 11 p.m. So you have to be first in the pub because they get crowded. So he was the first one on Friday night to say, guys, it's time to go to the pub. It's my first round. But boss, we're not finished. I said, we're going to the pub right now. And your job will still be waiting on Monday. Don't worry. No one will touch your job until Monday. You have my promise. However, someone might touch your beer if you don't drink your beer right now. That man might come with me, Now, this guy being so nice, he was in a meeting with CEO and stakeholder. And then you have a problem concerning job. He was stepping out of the meeting immediately because, excuse me, gentlemen, some of my team needs me, I'll be right back. And showing the CEO and stakeholder that they important, but not, if you want to be the job and the result you expect from me, let me fix my team right now, even during my meeting. And he was the first one in a very polite manner to do that. Now, when Andy came to us sometime saying, guys, we got a problem. We have to put another 2 or 3 hours extra Friday. No beer today. Can you do that for me? I never seen one saying no, Andy. How can you say no to this guy like this? You know, so a leader is, you earn it. It's like trust. You cannot ask me to trust you today. You have to earn that trust. And same with me. And for that, we need to exchange, to communicate. So you can keep I know that in some country, India especially, you have still a very vertical, rigid thing. But it doesn't have to be put down to the ground and become horizontal like in Google or something. Well, at least they believe they are. But it can keep a hierarchy. That's okay. But it's the result, as I say, think about musician. The result, if you want to sell records, CD, if you want to sell MP4 and MP3, whatever you want to sell, you need to be playing good and you need to be please the public. If you only do the playing good thing, just the result on the record, you won't sell. So as a manager, you need to be able to communicate well and to be liked by your people. And not everyone would like you because it's impossible. Absolutely. But those who don't like you, at least minimize. I will say something in Buddhism. If you cannot help someone, at least don't hurt them. You know, and they want you as a new leader to help them their career. It's not only you a nice person. They also want to make sure that with you, you have the tools to make me one day become a better person in my task, and also for myself. I've learned from my leaders something in life. For example, in sales, you learn to listen and answer, and then you go home to your wife, you know, and you don't sell anything, but you apply some of the techniques. You know, you say, "Can I talk to you?" You say, "I don't have a time. I'm too tired for today." But then you could do that, or you could use a sell. Oh, yeah, absolutely, yes, yes. Please sit down and make the room for that, because you would do that for your customer. You do that for your kids or for your wife. Why not? You know.
Absolutely. And in fact, like, you know what, like this was one of my questions I was planning to ask you, like an incident or a time period in your life when you felt like you could have been a better leader, or the part when you were like at top of like that leadership qualities, when you, that turning point. Okay. So anything other than like which the sort of the incident you shared, anything other than that you want to share, which was sort of your turning point? When you realize like, okay, this is something which you should be working on?
I always been pushing myself. I'm still do. I had a conversation just before this webinar, and she's my friend from, she's Chinese, and the Chinese push themselves already. And they say, you worse than Chinese, you're pushing yourself too hard, Patrick. And she's right. So when you, it's become natural to me. I'm not saying it's good, by the way. Huh? I'm not saying it's good, but that's the way I grew up. That's the way, no, it's me. I think it's me. So when I was working in a team and I was a team leader, I've naturally, because I'm demanding so much of myself, I didn't realize I was also demanding too much of my team. And they did it because they want to please me. They want to, I was the boss. So they say yes to all. But they start to criticize me, and I didn't realize I was asking too much, because for me it was so normal to ask so much. Then one day, finally, I get the message. Then someone said, like, look, we cannot keep you pace. If you want to do that to yourself, be my guest. But I don't want to live this way. Let me be me, you know? And I'm still, it's better now. And I realize that. But I still have to remind myself, even with my wife, I have to remember, like, I'm asking sometimes too much of my kid. She's 5 years old. And I'm asking sometimes too much. And I have to say, Patrick, she's 5. You're right. You're right. You know, just, you know, you have to let people to develop the skills in time. You can expect to be, if you're quick, but good for you. You know, if you're a sharp mind and quick and you get it straight away, you don't have to take note. Me, I don't take notes. I'm a clinical psychologist, one of the few that don't take notes. You come back in 1 year, I remember exactly what we talk about. I can catch up the conversation. For now, I still have this capacity. One day I will lose it. But for now, I still have it. So good for me. But it doesn't have to, I don't have to demand the same for other people. if they're more comfortable taking notes and take more time and do what it takes, as long as your job is made. Don't impose your view or your method. If it works for you, then it works for you. I will say what my grandpa used to say: the only control you have really is over your soup and how salty it is. So you're the master of your soup. Everything else, you don't master anything. So control yourself and trying to be better, and trying to comprehend that the others will develop. If you let room to everyone to develop in your team at their own pace, first, they will love that. And then trying to be in their shoes and saying, okay, I can see you struggling with that. Do you want me to help you with that or give some advice? Yes, no. If you say yes, then welcome. And then you give what your view is. And if they don't follow what you said, then let them do. It's just an advice. You invite you an advice, you give an advice, and maybe they try and say, nah, not for me. And then it should be. Don't say, I told you not to do like that. We come from that world. I think I'm very hopeful for the future because the pandemic have just accelerated this tendency. And I think there's an awareness around the world to a better management, better leadership, and better workplace, and even a better living situation, in different places. Why wait for retirement to go to Thailand when you can take a plane when you can and come here straight away?
Absolutely.
If you can work, why? Who told us? Who is this person that say you deserve Thailand, but in 40 years from now, not now? Why in 40 years? Why should I wait 40 years to go to the beach?
Yeah. It's so lovely listening to you, Patrick, like especially with your examples and all. Like it's amazing. And you know what, like we have almost covered up good enough time for now.
Yes.
Yeah. And to be very true, like I had an inclination that you have so much like experience and information. I would call it information or learning experience with us. It's really amazing talking to you, Patrick. So
thank you so much.
Yeah.
Likewise, pleasure.
Thank you for joining us in this particular webinar, and we'd stay connected. And you know what, like in our upcoming months, like we have another couple of good ideas and topics. So we'll be soon sharing with our audience and with you as well, in which we can bring you back in.
And I'm going to share you a little secret. I've never been to India, but this is my first plane as soon as they reopen the airspace.
Absolutely. We'd love to have you over here.
I am.
Yeah.
Which city? In which city you are?
So I was, you know what, like amazingly, I was born and brought up in West Bengal. It's Kharagpur. It's a place nearby sea beach. So I always, like every time I close my eyes, I'm there. Okay.
But the office, which city you are now?
Yeah, but we are in New Delhi. So
New Delhi,
is the capital of India. So it's like all the rush and the good slides which you showed, like with all those car jams and like
I know.
Oh, here in India. So, yeah.
Even now with the pandemic, it's still.
It has reduced considerably. Okay, but things are again getting back. See, it's a huge country. It's a huge country.
You have a large population. Yes.
A large population, a lot of solutions, a lot of problems. It's a mix. It's almost like.
But I'm amazed. I have something I have to say to you. Since the last 2-3 months now, I've been doing a lot of seminars, especially with India. I've connected with one, and they all connect with. I have never taken so much pleasure in talking with Indian people actually, and I've seen the level, the technicity, and the level of education is amazing. I'm amazed by Indian people. You are definitely, and people know, like when China is going to. India is next, right? But when the Western world come to China, they were not ready. They have to train them. The advantage with India, they're already trained. The skill level of the people in India are so high already, and your culture also being so wise. So if you can mix this wise culture and this level of technicity, you are the best. To go for the next future, and that's why I'm interested in India a lot, since I know more and more, but I've never been there. So you can never know someone. You have to go there more than one time. It's a huge country, as you say, many cultures, many languages. I can't wait to do that.
I'm really grateful. Like you should definitely visit India. It's our soft skills that I think is more valued outside throughout the world. The soft skills, what I mean is like language, but how we can speak the same language. We have the same education system. Everything is almost like closely the same. And yes, the people are young and they are more hungry and they are more sort of willing to fight and like get ahead of time or everything. So yeah, that's definitely there.
Thank you so much. Till we meet again, as you say.
Thank you. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you so
Take
much.
care.
Bye.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.